Thank you. Call the special meeting of the Kent Board of Selectmen to order at 3:30. February 2024. Our agenda is straightforward today. We do have a comment. You can do any public comment. First comment on the agenda, which is budget, and we're going to discuss tonight the social services, and we'll also talk the part of the Board of Selectmen's budget on facilities to include the Swift House. We have Joyce here for that. And so I'll open up to any comments or questions or anything regarding the agenda. Hearing none, we'll move right to our agenda item. If you have any questions on the agenda. Okay. All right. So are you here, Samantha? She's not here yet. She's not here yet. Okay. Do you want to? All right. We'll hold off on Samantha. We'll move to the Board of Selectmen and to Joyce Kearns, who's administrative assistant, who's going to talk a little bit about some of the questions the board had the other day regarding the town buildings and so on. So you want to just take and give a narrative?
Okay. So I received a list of questions over the weekend, and I didn't have time to do a whole narrative, but I can answer some of those questions for you, starting with the definition of maintenance. Maintenance is proactive. Think about your own home. Maintenance means ongoing service items. Some of the things that have been serviced so far, the elevator, the generator, landscaping, Terminex, fire equipment, sprinklers, inspections, all of those kind of things are generally maintenance. Repairs are reactive work. Generally, I don't do a whole list of what repairs are going to be. Repairs tell me what they're going to be. If something breaks, then we fix it. There are small projects that I may plan as a repair, but I generally hold off until another month or two, near the end of the fiscal year, because inevitably an air conditioning condenser will go, or some big project will happen that takes care of itself. So I don't always have a plan. Any of the bigger type of repairs or projects will be under capital, such as the painting and carpet, that sort of thing. So most of the repairs, to answer the question, most of the repairs are done by outside vendors, not by the highway crew themselves. I don't know what else, if that answers the majority of the questions. Is there something specific?
Have we ever had a person on the town crew who's done more little repairs, or no?
Not in my time. I mean, obviously when I first started, Johnny was that guy, but he didn't really do repairs. He did more maintenance type things. But nobody that has done repairs that I've, I mean, there are things that, if something small, Rick will repair it, or if one of his guys has that expertise knowledge, if it's something quick on the fly that can be done, they will assist. But in the bigger repairs, no, we would definitely bring in an outside vendor.
And do we have anybody who does maintenance like John Lindsay used to do?
No. Well, I mean, Rick does, his share of some of the things, but no, Johnny has not been replaced in some of those. People have picked it up. Everybody's kind of.
Do you sometimes just have to hire people to do the maintenance?
Yeah. Well, like landscaping, but Johnny didn't really do that. That's something kind of newer that, I brought in a landscaper. And Rick has guys that have picked up some of Johnny's work. I mean, Jerry, for one, has picked up a lot of Johnny's, the sidewalks and the mowing and that sort of thing. So.
We do have a maintenance person comes out on the weekends that cleans and empties.
Big cleaner, yeah.
And that person does like all the buildings, right?
She does what?
And she does all the buildings, right?
No, she does here and nutrition. The senior center.
And the community house has somebody.
Community house, yes, right. She doesn't do the Swift House right now. Nobody's doing the Swift House right now.
And somebody else is doing the Welcome Center?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, that's done by Tony Hernandez, landscaping, or his maintenance people. Yeah, a contract with that. Did you want to ask about the schedule maintenance for any of the other buildings? So it's kind of part of your questions in there. Like,
I'm sorry.
you have some budget items and planned capital items to do work on the building here. You painting,
Yeah.
carpeting.
So, right now we're trying to coordinate, between getting the generator replaced, along with the boiler. That hopefully will happen in the spring. We also have money for painting and carpeting, and so we're trying to I don't have enough money to do the entire building. 5 years ago, we thought $40,000 was a whole lot of money. Well, it's not gonna go very far in painting and carpet. So, the plan is that we'll start with the entryway and the first floor hallway and then see how far we can get with that. I did put a request in the capital plan for money every year for that sort of maintenance. I mean, that's more than the operating budget, even to paint, an office at a time or whatever, because you have to hire somebody to move everything out of the office. It's going to involve IT because all the offices probably will need to be wired correctly so that there isn't a spaghetti bowl of wires going under everybody's desk. So each office that's going to take time to do, that person's going to be displaced for a little bit. So I put money into capital, but I think that's beyond the operating budget.
Okay.
If I look at the Swift House for a second, let's see. So I'm just maintenance and repairs. So that maintenance line, the year to date, 14,479. That was the architect.
Yeah, I think when I looked at the last report that I got, it was primarily the architect and the insurance and build us so far, but the other services will come along as well.
So there's 4,521 left in that line. So that 391, and then the repairs. There's a 388. Do you know what those were?
I think that was the keys and the locks, perhaps.
So that's 388 out of 10,000 that was budgeted. So
I do have plans for over there for doing repairs. Unfortunately, or I'm waiting for the architect because I don't want to go and repair all of the railings or the porches. And then he said, oh, we're going to demolish that one.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of waiting for some kind of direction on at least where their thoughts are, like putting ADA. I'm fully aware that, there is work that needs to be done in the building, but I mean, all the windows and sills that we have repaired and fixed probably are all going to be replaced anyway. And so I'm trying not to be wasteful and waiting to see if there's some kind of recommendation that will come.
Yep.
If there is money that I can do some of those things because the repairs aren't going to happen within the next few years, obviously I'll use as much money as I can to do as many of the crucial repairs immediately, but kind of just I'm in a holding pattern. And I did email him earlier today, and being the architect, waiting for a status. What the next steps are. I sent him a copy of the uses, the primary uses that you all went through with Zan at the last meeting, so, which is what he asked for. And I asked for an update status as to where he is and what next steps will be for us so that we know when the report, where he is in it and when he'll be providing us a report.
Okay, so we'll hear from him and then we'll.
So as soon as I know something, I'll share that with you guys.
Okay. No, thank you. That makes a lot of sense. And I just crunching the numbers. So between maintenance and repairs for the rest of this year, there's 14,133 left.
And it will be used for sure.
Sure. Yeah.
And again, keeping in mind, it's been the ruling that, you can, if you overspend in one line, as long as your bottom line covers it, especially in the buildings, I don't have to deal with payroll and that sort of thing. So when I manage the building budgets, it's a lot easier for me. I can kind of move some of those numbers. And so if there's not as much in maintenance this year, or there's, no custodial there, those are lines that we have that we keep money in. So, for moving forward, I can reallocate those monies to some kind of repair process.
Yeah, electric looks fine. We haven't spent that much on that.
Yeah, but exactly. Because we're not using it. So, right.
That might be. Okay. So just to tell this group, I wanted to wait until today. So I did speak with Marina Wisniewski from Shippo. And we had a great conversation just about historic houses in Connecticut and what the state can do for us. And she looked up the Swift House there, and we talked all about it. So I told her about my relationship with the, as a board member and as a member of the committee, the Swift House committee. So we chatted for quite some time, and she was very pleased to know that we hired Silver Petroselli. That's a company she has worked with, architect that she's worked with before, the state has, and they're very aware of when they work on historical sites, what needs to be done. So she was pretty happy with that. And I told her where we are in the process. And I asked her again, is this building on the state registry? And it is not.
Right.
So she gave me a bunch of information on how to do that, should we want to. And if we want to, we would then be able to get grants between $5,000 and $200,000 matching. So if X amount of work needs to be done, we would, I'm assuming, pay half, they would pay half. I asked her how long the process is to get on that state registry. She said, I think it's after, I think July, we can do this. We're past some kind of date, I believe. So, and I asked her, what does she need from us? What does she need from me? And she said for them to look at the process, she would love for someone, me or someone else, to take pictures of the inside of the building, outside of the building, just a bunch of pictures, send them over, and they would take a look at that. That would start a process should we want to do that. So I told her that this meeting was coming up. I'll let her know what we think. But she seems to think, I mean, she's well aware of ADA rules. She's well aware of that. And she gave me the name of someone else to talk to who's really aware of those rules. So let me know what you want me to do. I mean, or someone.
So there's not an actual application?
Yeah, that's what it's saying.
There's an application.
Oh, okay.
This one again.
Okay.
This is paperwork.
It's not, you take a bunch of pictures, you're on state. But there's an application, but this would begin the process. There's a written history that they want. There's a bunch of other information they want. But she wanted a bunch of pictures to start the process should we want to do that.
Is there any specific pictures or just
as many of the inside of the building? I told her that I don't know what we're doing with probably we'll look at the bottom part of the building. I don't know about the second floor, but she said just take as many pictures of the inside as possible. Okay. We can take a look. So if we were to get on that state registry, we would be able to apply for funding. Okay.
I thought, at the Swift House Task Force, Marge had said that the grants were only for the exterior. Did she mention any of that, or did you talk about what the grants would cover? For some reason that sticks out, that it was only for the exterior and not the interior.
I will double check with her and look at this, but I was really talking about ADA. I was talking about ramps.
Okay.
And what to do.
That's a grant for the ADA first part.
Any capital, any construction. Okay, is what I understand.
They have a whole series of grants.
Oh, I'm sure.
So there's that planning one that I shared with
Right.
you.
Yes.
That
Yes.
we definitely should apply for because it could help us with the next part with the architects to pay for plans.
And she asked me how far along we are with Sopra Petroselli. That they give funding for architects. We got we've been in conversation. We have funded that. So she was.
So we haven't funded plans.
Correct.
Well, yes, but at least.
I mean, we.
Yes, we can do that.
Look at that planning grant. Then.
But she was even talking about the money.
No, we could have probably got grants for that.
Of course. But here we are. So anyway, that's what I discovered. So I don't know what this group wants me to do with that.
Let's take pictures.
I think we should pursue it. I mean, there's no negative to pursuing.
We'll find out just how far we match up when we talk about the building and the grants, especially the planning grant. If that's where we can start, I'm all for that. I mean, that's, it doesn't guarantee anything, but at least give us the ability to continue with Sopra Petroselli and move on to what, is potentially a way to go, which is what we're now conceptualizing, but it'll give us a little bit more specifics, I think. Okay.
Yeah, I think
Let's do that.
it's almost like different paths because the state registry is going to open doors to other grants.
Yes.
I think the planning one, it would just only help to have that.
Yes.
We might be able to get it without it.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but, plan for that, so, okay.
Okay, so I'll take the pictures.
Yep.
And so I'll get a key. Joyce. And, so I'll take care of that. So I'll take the pictures inside and the outside and send them over. And I'll let you know what happens.
Yeah.
And if it's the next meeting on Friday, then great. If not, then.
Okay, yeah, whatever, but yeah, let us know about that planning grant too. If there's a deadline or any, specific to
Yes.
doing that.
It's
take that
it's a
point.
rolling one
It's a
where
rolling-
like
Okay.
they meet every month and
Oh,
they,
okay.
and they
Review.
review what has come
Request.
in.
Okay, good, then we should get those.
Certainly in the next regular meeting that we have in my report,
Okay.
I will write up all this in great detail. And,
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Can I ask about, going back to the town buildings, the community house? There's literally paint peeling off the wall going down the stairs. Is that something that we could deal with? Like on a maintenance, like.
It's stone, and so it's very difficult to get the paint to stick to it. That's more than just, I mean, we would have to paint it literally once a month. I mean, it is something that's going to be addressed, but I don't have the funds to do it right now. There is money coming in the capital for the lower level, and that's included in that. I mean, I will do my best to maintain it.
Should we just take the paint off of the thing? Because it looks terrible the way it is now.
I mean, I can have somebody look at it for sure.
And there's also paint peeling on the outside of the building.
And that's a much bigger process because it's asbestos, or not asbestos, lead paint. And so it needs to be tinted, and there's a whole big process for getting that building painted. So it's not as easy as just going out there and doing that. Yep.
is that an issue with the Swift House as well? Is there like a lead-based issue?
No, according to the person that I had to work there, he had, actually was the same vendor, and he had both of them tested. He said no at the Swift House and yes at the community house. Even though we did have the community house painted a few years ago, which surprised me, because I told him we painted it, but he had it tested and he said, he wouldn't do it because he doesn't have that license. So, because I asked to have some of the work repaired, and he said he wouldn't do it because he's not licensed in that capacity. So again, that's in the capital, because that's gonna be a much larger expense.
So that lead has probably gotten painted over.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah. Talk about that. There may be some help with the school. Bill Hurley was a paint contractor, did deal with lead paint. I know we had to do that when we painted the exterior part of the school before, with how we sealed it and all that kind of stuff, the brick or the block and all that kind of, those with lead, but it was others. So he may have some ideas we can help with. We'll chat with him. To the school board can help us with. Okay. Thank you, Joyce. I appreciate it. Anything else? Thank you. Thank you.
I'll send this on now if you need her.
Great. Samantha, you ready to go? You ready to talk about social services?
I am. I just need to undo, get my video going here. Hold on. Sorry, guys. Oh, hold on. All right. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, can hear you.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. All right, do you just want to open up? You saw the questions, you have an idea of what the board is looking at?
Or you want me to?
Start out? Yeah, if you just want to start out, give a first shot at how you'd like to address this.
Sure. So I will just start this by saying this is my first time doing this, so bear with me. So I know some of the questions were around like the hours that I'm working and how the workload is divided between myself and Rosemary. So I was hired for 32 hours a week. I averaged like 35 plus hours when all is said and done. And then the work between myself and Rosemary is definitely there's quite a bit of it. So I'll list off like each of us one at a time just so that you know who I'm talking about. So for myself, I do all the ordering for the food bank off of Connecticut Food Share. I do the majority of the direct service work So, you know, all of the clients who are coming in for appointments regarding whether it's something like Jane Lloyd Fund or looking for assistance with financing different things like bills and stuff like that, whether that's coming from a separate fund like Neighbor to Neighbor or Jane Lloyd or through the assist line, all of that direct service comes to me. I'm also doing the majority of the energy assistance applications. And that this year has been around 50 applications so far. The season does run through May, so there's plenty of room for more people to be coming in. And I also do the renters rebate applications for the elderly and disabled. So those applications come to my desk as well. Any Department of Social Services applications, so if somebody's looking to apply for food stamps, health insurance, cash assistance, stuff like that, that's all stuff that comes to me, as well as any of the Social Security applications. So disability and early retirement applications are in my wheelhouse as well. For the most part, as far as senior center goes, I attend the lunches because we need the extra people power at the senior lunches, and I will occasionally go to other senior center events as under my job title. I have the director of the senior center as well, so I try to make sure that I'm present in there and quite often answering questions for people that way. And then Rosemary does the majority of the scheduling and planning for the senior center. So she's working on the flyers, the newsletters, the outreach to the different groups that we have coming in when we have different programs coming through. She's done a lot of work with helping me with phone calls. We have a ton of phone calls that come in, emails, scheduling when somebody calls. We obviously have to schedule them into our week. So she does a lot of the scheduling to help out there. And then she runs the majority of the senior center activities that we don't have covered by volunteers or other agencies that we're working directly with. And Rosemary she's 14 hours a week is what she was hired for. I figure I'll pause there if there's questions or.
The only question I have is a lot of times I've been there and you're both there and it just seems like, why do you both need to be there? I mean, I understand what you're saying about meeting people, that makes sense to me. But when you're also saying in your budget narrative that you've got more and more things to do, is that an area where you could sort of divide and conquer, where you might not?
Sure, yeah, we can definitely work on dividing more of it. That's definitely something that we're open to. Other than the lunches are definitely one of the bigger things that we need to have people at. But for the other stuff, we can definitely divide more.
You have this term, we had I think you may still have a intern for this semester. How much time does that take for you to work and help, whatever, mentor, the intern and show that individual what you're doing and why you're doing it and give them experience with that. How much time does that take for you to do?
I try to do a lot of my stuff like in the moment. So as I'm doing applications, I would have them sit, next to me and just kind of add on to, let's say if I'm doing an energy application, as I'm doing somebody's application, I'll talk it out while I'm doing it. So it's not actually taking up, a lot more time. Usually, the interns are really there to see firsthand. So it's not a lot of time that I'm spending, like one-on-one working with them, or taking away from the other direct services that we're doing.
And these are all Westcott or a university student type person, right? From or
Well, so our first one came from I think it was East Stroudsburg
Strasburg State, yeah.
University in Pennsylvania. They were a local student. And then this student now is from WestCon, from the social services department or social work department.
Do they give you any kind of a like a rundown of things that they'd like you to go over if you can with that individual? Is there an experiential piece to that that they have to hit, some hallmarks that they work on it on to help you?
In Yeah, in the beginning, they definitely they asked, what kind of work the intern would be doing, what kind of stuff they would be seeing. So I kind of lay out the whole like broad spectrum of what we cover. So as they're going through, there are different assignments that she does where I have to kind of look over quickly and check off. I think at most um I think it's about three three assignments a semester that I have to sign off on. And those are just more of a written dialogue of something that they've experienced. So as far as that, it's really the student's job to make the internship fit into all the classwork. Um, but initially when I reached out to WestCon, they were happy that somebody would have an opportunity to have a broad municipal view.
You can continue that most semesters or is that yeah, as often as you
I would
can?
like to. It's definitely it's a valuable opportunity on both ends. When we do have our intern, if there's things going on, especially at the senior center or the food bank, that's when we ask that the intern goes over, maybe they're decorating or they're helping clean up from an event, or we're short a volunteer at the food bank, so we'll ask the intern to go over to work on stocking the shelves and receiving the delivery on Thursday, instead of one of us having to go over and supplement um that volunteer that we're missing.
Speaking of volunteers, do you food bank specifically, you have, I mean, I guess most of the senior center, but during lunches, but food bank, you have quite a few people volunteering at that place. Do you have a volunteer coordinator or do you do that yourself? Or
No, we
Rose?
do that. Yeah, we do that on our own. When I started the position, the volunteers were already I guess designated, so to say. So we've been fortunate enough that most of our volunteers have continued since I've started. Um, we occasionally have to find coverage, and we've had volunteers who have left, especially from the Thursday position. They've found other opportunities or work. So the Lions Club has stepped in. We have a few Lions Club members that actually do help directly with the food bank. But the senior center is definitely where volunteers are very much needed.
Hello, Samantha. If I could look at one question here that you've probably seen on this email. Just the number of meals each month has been reduced compared to 5 years ago. Other than collaborating with Park and Rec, have you investigated any other ways to offer more meals per month at the senior center? So I know that the Lions helped out one day. A local restaurant catered that. That was a good event. And so can you talk about that question? Can we offer more meals? Do you need help with that, with either Lions or other restaurants or the schools or something like what have you investigated, if anything, with that?
Sure. So in the past, the elderly nutrition program was on Mondays and Wednesdays, and that was at 12:30 at Templeton Farms. And that food was provided by an agency in Torrington. So our understanding was, because this was very prior to my coming to Kent. So my understanding was that the meals were provided to about 18 people, and then it slowly kind of like petered off. And then when COVID hit, a lot of things kind of shut down and stopped. Um, the biggest thing, sorry, I'm also trying to like look at notes here. Um, the biggest thing is we need to have a certified food manager at all of our lunches. Any event where we're giving out food and we're providing a lunch, we have to have a manager. So Rosemary is, which is why she absolutely has to be present at the lunches. Um, and that's why we were hoping that as these things grow, we have to figure out how to also manage that as well. If there's potentially like other volunteers maybe that would be interested in it, there is a cost to the training. We do have one other volunteer who has been certified in it. I can't speak for them or how long they're going to be willing and able to help us at the lunches as well. But for the most part, that volunteer helped at the park and rec lunches so that Rosemary did not have to be present for those as well. Um, we we do typically need at least 3 to 4 volunteers for lunches because we need the serving and the continued cleanup and helping each of the participants as they come in for lunch, or if somebody can't get food, whatever it may be. So we do require that. And it is an average of um like 4 hours that needs to be designated per lunch, between the setup, making sure that everything is clean and sanitized ahead of time, and then even the cleanup afterwards. So the lunches are definitely a big thing for us. Um, and we have found we would love to, and we're hoping in this year to lean more on the schools, seeing if we can get the schools into a more regular, um, I guess, routine of donating food and serving, so that we have less responsibility there financially to provide food. And we have reached out to the restaurants. The restaurants have been um, very generous. I I don't know that all of them are able to continue to help out on a consistent basis, but in our first year of reopening the senior center, they have been fantastic. Um, and that's also something too, just to note, was that when these lunches, in the past years before I started, when these lunches were going on, we really didn't have a senior center program up and running. So there really wasn't a lot going on at the senior center. So as I've come in, we've restarted and reopened the senior center and have offered a lot of brand new programs that weren't offered before. Um, so we're trying to work that balance, and also making sure that we are offering more than just food-based programs, because it's important to get people out for a little bit of everything. We want them to also have that education and hopefully exercise and stuff too.
What certification does Rosemary have? Is it Serve Safe or some
Yes,
other? It's Serve Safe.
sure. Yes, yep. Excuse me.
Okay, thank you.
I did hear from a couple of seniors, including Karen, who you talked to, Karen IMG, and I think she's interested in getting it, the certification.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I think there's interest.
Yeah,
That's a good thing. Yeah, it's a really.
Definitely. That would be
Very
absolutely wonderful to be able to share that responsibility for those lunches. It would open the door for a lot more.
It's a lot if it's just one person, if it's just Rosemary. So
It is, and that's why, and especially with Rosemary only being 14 hours a week, that's definitely a hang up, because I absolutely need her help at the office and with other things too. So um potentially, if we were to do more lunches and didn't have other people with ServeSafe, she could probably spend her her whole week's hours on, you know, being present for lunches.
Understood.
The senior trips, something that I know has been on people's minds, a lot of us have been talking to the Northwest Connecticut Transit District as well. Do you have plans to increase, your senior trips and use of the transit district bus?
So
You thought
we,
about that?
what we had done is we had partnered with Warren Park and Rec because they were offering senior trips already. So our hope was to kind of, instead of reinventing the wheel, join them and offer those same trips because the costs are fairly affordable for most people, and um they've got a great program going, a great offering for things that are much bigger than I think we would be able to accomplish. Um, we have we have researched transportation. We do have a lot of difficulty with transportation. I think we all know that's a huge issue for Kent. Um, we have worked um, on a trip previously. You have to book a month prior and have your itinerary completely filled out and ready to go, piece by piece, like minute by minute, kind of like what your plan is. Um, and you can't vary from that itinerary at all. It did um it did take about 10 hours of planning time trying to accomplish a trip to the Christmas tree shops down in Danbury, between all the communication back and forth and trying to plan piece by piece the itinerary. And the staffing for trips is a whole nother ball game, so to say, because we would want to make sure that we have enough staff, especially, if there's people who are looking to attend a trip who um, are not as mobile as others. We need to make sure that we're accommodating that, as well. So it could potentially be another 48 hours of staff time, dependent upon the trip in the program. Um, so I at this point, I don't know that we're really in a position to be able to offer trips through our department.
How often do you use Warren? Again, you said they make themselves available on occasion. Do they, is it the same Northwest Connecticut Transit District bus that they use, or do they have something else?
So oftentimes, depending on where the trips are and what the trips are that are offered, Warren actually ends up hiring like a coach bus. So they're offering trips to different, it might be like baseball games, it might be um shopping trips, a museum. So they've got um a whole slew of things that they're offering. I mean, they even offer trips like out of the country that they'll do. So um we kind of got mixed reviews when we talked about trips, what people really wanted. Some people were just kind of looking for like we had said, a trip to the Christmas tree shops. Other people were looking for more of those, more trips kind of like to like a flower show or something like that. So um we're not sure how to provide that. um we're open to it, but again, if it's just the two of us, I'm not sure how we would go about staffing something like that, even on a regular basis. That would be really really difficult for us.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, in the past, those Connecticut, the Northwest Transit trip, those were, through Park and Rec.
Yeah.
They
I
weren't.
mean, I think it definitely could be a collaboration with Park and Rec. Because there is definite interest, I think. Maybe it's a case of social services and Park and Rec could survey people on the email list and maybe have a hard copy survey at the senior center and just get idea of like where the trips that are needed. And the other thing about the bus was also, are there people that need regular transportation to doctor's visits?
Yeah, so that's been an ongoing issue since I've started. It's been an ongoing issue like years prior to me starting. Since been here, we have lost the fish volunteers transportation. Um, and we do have a really tough time having people get rides through the different options that are out there. So we've got the Northwest Transit District. Occasionally Gear Village can be their transportation can be utilized, but people are really struggling in general to get these rides because we can't get everybody, scheduled for the same day or around the same time. All these appointments last different times. We may have somebody who, two people who are going to the same doctor's office, but one appointment's going to last 15 minutes, the other one might last a half hour. So we've had a lot of trouble connecting people properly. For those that are on Husky, there are VAO rides. It's VAO transportation. And even that is not as reliable as we wish it could be. So in general, transportation is definitely still a very huge issue that we have spent a lot of time trying to figure out and discuss and talk about things. And I'm not sure we'll have an answer, just by our department. But we're happy to look into things. We're happy to collaborate, figure stuff out. If there's suggestions that you have, we're happy to work on it for sure.
What is the VAO transportation? Is that something offered through the state or something?
You have to be on Husky health insurance, and it's a separate group that provides non-emergency transportation for medical appointments only. So it could be a VAO, like one of the VAO vehicles, but other times they'll have a taxi service. They'll kind of contract out and have another company come and pick somebody up for rides.
So about how many people would we potentially could be using something like that in Kent? Is it like 5 people or is it 20 or?
I mean, I don't really know the answer to that. It's whoever is qualified for Husky, as long as they're actively on Husky health insurance, they're able to utilize that service. So there's quite a few people that could utilize it. But it's also, like I said, their reliability and ability to accommodate all of those needs as well.
But that's something that a person would organize by themselves, not through your office.
Correct. Yes. Obviously we can give the resource and give them the information on it and show them how to do it, but that's definitely something that they're able to schedule on their own.
And the Northwest transit bus, I know they used to at one point, they were like going from Kent on a certain day down to New Milford. Is that not happening anymore?
I'm pretty sure that let's see, they have a weekly bus that transports to New Milford. So it's been hit or miss for us. We've had they did originally have a day where they were bringing people down, but they've gone through different staffing and they've also gone through a lot of transition there. So I don't really know what they're able to do at this point. But we've reached out. We have people. That's the main resource that we have at this point is the Northwest Transit. And that's, when people call looking for rides, that's the resource we give. for them to reach out to them. And they do need quite a bit of lead time in order to make sure they have somebody who can get out to Kent. The problem is we kind of seem to be out of this triangle. We're kind of like off the map as far as most of the bus routes go.
It's the story of Kent.
I know. I know.
Happens with the regional school district too.
Yeah, I have a conversation with the director of the Connecticut Transit District this week, so I will ask him some of these questions about what they're planning on doing, what they can do, because they do get, I think it's 85% of their aid is state aid, and the 15% comes from the town, comes from our budget, in budget, so on. So it's kind of expensive, but if we are participating, then we should have a return. So we'll have to talk with that, sure.
Sounds good.
Right.
So, you asked for additional money for your salary to compensate for all these additional programs and stuff like that. How did you decide that it should be, that you would rather have it come into your salary versus additional hours for Rosemary?
Rosemary's capped at a certain amount of hours that she's able to work.
Meaning that she can't work any additional hours over the 14?
She's capped at a certain amount of money that she can make.
Okay.
Which ultimately caps her hours.
Okay.
Is that a social security thing? Oftentimes, you know.
I'm sorry.
The social security limit, is she drawing social security or that there's some restrictions on that, I understand.
I believe so. I'm not 100% sure on what exactly.
The increase in health insurance, well, is that just our standard percentage or what was that? You had. That's our standard, okay, there's nothing, you didn't put anything in for additional.
I did not. No.
Some other additional insurance, okay, that's our standard. Okay. Other questions? Any other comments, anything you think you'd like to tell us?
I think, I mean, in general, we have just seen a huge increase in need across the board. And I think you can see that as far as like the community funds, the funds that they're allocating, an increase in everything, the amount of participants in the food bank, the amount of people that we have coming in looking for services has just increased. So, in general, there's definitely a lot of need in town, and we're definitely working our hardest to meet that need. And I just wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to have a discussion.
I think it might help us understand if you were able to give us a little more data as to how many, it's something Leah used to do regularly. She used to do a quarterly report and give it to the selectmen. And she would give not, all of it was confidential, but she would give numbers of people that she was serving, numbers of people using the food bank. I'm sure that that's somewhere in your records.
Sure. So, I mean, I can tell you we're serving 50 individual households a month at the food bank. We're averaging between 30 and 35 individual households coming each week to the food bank. So that's a huge increase from, about the 25 total that used to be served. We're still offering delivery, and we've changed the way that the food bank works. The inside operations of the food bank have changed. We've allowed for 2 rooms to be shopped in. We've had 50 applications so far for energy assistance. Renters rebate, we have about 30 applications that come in for that. And I mean, phone calls and emails are just regularly every day we come in and there's absolutely voicemails left. There's emails to be returned on a regular basis. And then depending on the week, there's some weeks where I might have 10 to 15 direct, clients coming into the office throughout the week. And that's also dependent on, what they're coming in for, what their needs are as well. I don't have an exact number of how many people total we're serving, but those are just some of the general numbers, and we can make sure that we get in like a quarterly report and get those numbers in more regularly so that it can be seen.
I think it would be helpful. It'd be helpful to, just for you, to track, like, what is this quarter compared to last year's quarter, or, this quarter compared to the quarter before, that kind of thing. I think it's just helpful. And I know, I'm sure it would be helpful.
Yeah, and part of that, I guess, maybe is my failure to turn over some of that to you guys, because we have talked some of that just recently, and she did show me some graphs and stuff like that. I haven't brought it to the board yet. It was after our last meeting, but she is bringing that together. So she's doing some of that work. I want to give her credit for that. Yeah, she came in the office the other day. Unfortunately, I think I've been sick partly, so we haven't had a chance to sit down and actually discuss between us. But yeah, she does that. So we'll make sure we get that into the reports for sure, at least by the regular meeting for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just want to let you know she is doing some of that work.
Cool.
Trying to keep that data together. Okay. Great. Anything else? Isn't good. Thank you, Samantha. I guess I appreciate your coming in, and thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Samantha.
Okay. Anything else that we want to do for today? Anything else we want to talk about? I will say I've heard some flattering comments about our decision to go with the 3% and then to put the money over, which probably is not surprising to some of us. I still I know that's a difficult thing to try to get the board of finance to agree to that. I've heard that it hadn't worked in the past in some phases. Maybe that's why we didn't have a lot of data on that. We were discussing it the other day. I think, I think we felt pretty confident Friday that we had a fairly decent look at, or idea of how we wanted to look at performance, longevity, things like that with the individuals going up for increases, potential increases, and for us to be able to do that. Some questions about whether or not we could do that at the time we've had to do it now versus at the beginning of the next fiscal year, the first quarter of next fiscal year, which is kind of the deadline we gave ourselves. I don't know. Do you want to talk any more about that? Or you guys been thinking any more about that? Or are you pretty confident?
I
don't know.
think change is hard.
Change is
And
hard.
you're gonna get pushback
Yeah.
because, we would be asking employees to do something differently.
Yeah.
We would be asking them to have goals, assess, and then there'd have to be a process of assessing, where am I at with my goals?
Right.
And that's different. That's very different than what they've been asked to do for a very long time.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you on that one. I really do. I think, I know some people don't like it. I think the issue is whether or not we're going to be able to get that past the board of finance.
The money?
Yeah, but I don't think I think the money was, I don't think it's that much. I know we're going to have other issues we're going to have to push forward on with numbers, obviously registrar in the school. We all know the school's going to come in much, much higher than they did last year. But I think this is important. I'm willing to stick with what we've discussed, but I just want to bring that up in case anybody had any second thoughts or had any other discussions about it.
And that number we agreed on was 12,000.
12.5. Yeah.
The only other way to approach it is you launch the performance type stuff. And then you wouldn't be able to pay them until the following year.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to enact it until the following year.
Meaning
you wouldn't be able to award raises based on longevity performance because you wouldn't have any of the data until next year.
Right. If we're, well, that's the point. I think we agreed to that giving them, our department heads and others an opportunity to outline their goals for going forward and stuff like that. If they would have a chance to do that and get that in, we'd still be able to make an adjustment to the pay during the first quarter or the end of the first quarter of the fiscal year, which would change their pay that year, right, in 24, 25. But in some cases, I think probably in a lot of cases, we'd have an increase of some sort of the bottom line pay. It's not that we're not doing it with the budget this year, we're just looking at a different process of how we assign that. Not that that would necessarily be the way we go forward forever, but I think the putting money away, I'm saying, but having an assessment process, a goal setting process is something that we need to establish. I agree with that. I mean, certainly that was part of the point that I was making. I think we all made that the other day. But yeah, I don't, but as far as changing the way we wanted to go forward with the 3% and then put the 12.5 in the budget as another line item. We talked to Barbara about that Friday to actually assign that during the review process in the first quarter, at the end of the first quarter of 24, 25. So
you're saying the Board of Finance might disagree with this?
Well, yeah, they've stopped,
And we're stuck with 3. With everybody.
We're starting through, unless we went back and then went to the Board of Finance and worked with the Board of Finance to change it. I mean, we couldn't, it doesn't go final until it's May.
I was going to say, so if they do ultimately disagree with that, it would be kicked back to us and then we can still adjust if we want.
Yeah,
okay, absolutely. So it's not the end.
No.
But it is an incentive. The finances would be an incentive for people to change their procedures.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
It's harder, it's harder to do if you don't have the financial incentive.
Yeah. And there's still some, there's still some incentives, obviously, there's still some changes that will occur in this budget that we're going to look at in the next couple of months ourselves, because there's going to be adjustment with, I've said I wanted to bring a proposal forward with the administrative assistant and all that. So I'm still working on that upstairs. So we'll bring that in. And then there's obviously the registrar, which is going to be, we're going to have to dig into that a little bit and talk about just how extensively we're going to have to hire people and how we do it and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
So you want to change Joyce's position?
I want to adjust it, not change it.
You haven't mentioned that before.
Yeah, I mentioned it. I'm working on it. Yeah, I think she should be a department head. She should be an equal to the other department heads. The amount of responsibility that she takes on that I see every day as an administrative assistant. I think it's it's a title change for one thing, but it's also something that's more important, I think, to the town as we go on with all different buildings and accompanying work responsibilities there. It's pretty well laid out. I mean, I've been working on she's been working on with me on all the things that she's actually doing. Mm-hmm. And it's quite extensive with the amount of money and responsibilities, the front end that she presents to the town. It's more than just our board admin in a sense.
Yeah.
But she'd still have those functions of being that board admin. But yeah, I think that she should be recognized as a department head. I've seen that happen before. I've had that happen before. I think it's important. Again, there's longevity and experience in that right there. So that would be an adjustment to the position. But I have the specifics I'll bring to you. I chopped that off. I didn't mention that.
I don't think you did. The other thing that I brought up with the Cemetery Association is, do we want to hire another maintenance person to do the mowing rather than contract that out? And could that same person be helping with things like small repairs in the town buildings?
Yeah, if they're qualified to do that.
You could write a job description then, right?
Yeah, but partly with that is also your benefits. If you start to bring somebody with about how much it would take, that's I think just the numbers wise, it would be a lot more than what we're investing in a contractor situation.
But there's 25,000 in Park and Rec's maintenance line, and if you think about it in that way, like I know, you know, Rick said that Jerry's doing some of the mowing for rec, but I think we should look at it. We should look at, is this actually better for the town to have somebody cross over different departments to help, you know?
Yeah, if we could have a discussion on that. I think the various experiences and expertise that we need across the board is something we're not going to find in person, but we can have that discussion. We can get Rick in and actually look at it. I think there's a lot more part of that field thing and I think this maybe is, you can look at exactly what you do in Park and Rec, is that you need a professional group to go in there and fix that field.
Well, we have that. But I mean, I'm talking about,
the whole.
yeah, the playing field needs to,
baseball field, yeah.
yeah.
I need, but that's not something that we can find someone who isn't in a landscaping.
No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting like mowing of the parks and, you know, repairing things and repairing things in the town buildings, you know, like a small painting job or repairing something that's broken. I mean, I don't know. I don't know enough about what's needed to be able to actually speak to this very well, but it appears from the outside that it might be helpful.
I do agree with you that we have not set a very as aggressive and a set schedule. This is kind of what we're doing across the board, I think, here with performance objectives and so on. Is that if we're going to, and I had this conversation, if we're going to fix things in town hall, we need to fix things in town hall. We can't let it wait. We got to be aggressive to it. We've got to make sure we fund it and exactly tell people how expensive it is to keep up buildings. And that gets into the Swift House and the whole 9 yards. So I just think as we had that discussion, you know, we're going to find that there's, to have that jack of all trades, I'd love to, who can do the painting and the mowing and who can do it all at the time. I think we need to really look at how we do it. You know, just for lawn maintenance, having been a landscaper in my life, one of my many jobs, that field needs a lot more work, and it's not Park and Rec's issue. It was something we should have done a long time ago as a town, and we've gotten to a point now that's a little less. But yeah, but I got it.
It'd probably be worth it to run the numbers. Like, what would it cost to hire someone? What does it cost to do all these things if we hire out?
We hire it into that situation. It'd probably be more towards a unionized person too, which
It has to be if it's town crew, right?
Right, pretty much. You can start using other equipment and all that stuff. Yeah.
So if we just have raw numbers either way.
We could drop, yeah,
whether we can find someone or not, that's
we can look
the numbers will tell us a lot. I mean, it could save us money or it doesn't. We'll do it.
Right. But it just seems like, you know, what did they say, $47,000 to mow the cemeteries?
44.
Yeah, 44, but they weren't charging us for the full amount. They said they were, you know, $3,000 to $5,000 they were spending out of their own funds. So it really is $47,000 to $50,000. You know, so that's
just taking that on. I mean, you know, we can plan and plan and plan as much as we can, but you know, be surprised by different things with this, I believe. So, you know,
well, I don't doubt it. I know that 2 years ago, the cemetery at St. Bridget's in Florida, yeah, it's 2 full days. Just to do all that, the trimming of the headstone. So yes, but yeah, okay, there's nothing wrong with looking at it.
right. You know, we could do the investigation and just say, oh no, it's better off to hire somebody, you know?
Yeah, better off the equipment repair.
Yeah.
But we'll dig that up. We'll talk.
and of course you've talked to Rick about all this, so.
I have a little bit, just a brief not specifics, but you know.
Yeah. It's a lot that's gonna fall on him perhaps.
Well, I mean, yeah, he's the guy that's running the public works right now, so all the guys are coming to him, so. Yeah, anyway.
I mean, and he would need to figure out whether or not it's actually gonna work, because
Sure.
this person will be doing a lot of work during warmer months, but then
Yeah.
is there still stuff for them to do in
Yeah.
the colder months?
Yeah, there's still things that they said, there's still a couple of questions out that we'll get hopefully done by Friday and get that done. We have to get it done by Friday, so we'll be on Randy. That maybe he's sitting home in the snowbank tomorrow. We can get him to finalize some of those questions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Civics. Yeah. some of that is, I think, are too, we want to have alternates, I think we can, but we're kind of getting off task, but yeah, we can.
I just didn't know where it needed to be, you know, because like in the Conservation Commission, it's right in the ordinance.
Right, look at some, there's the Constitution, the bylaws, the ordinance, and then there, committee, directives if you want. So it's crazy, yeah, but we can put it anywhere we want, we think. And you should be able to do that.
I just, alternates are important, you know, I was saying that on Park and Rec.
Yeah,
like,
yeah,
we
this
need
may be-
alternates,
yeah, this may be
because
one
not
where-
everybody can make every
Yeah,
single
this may be
meeting.
one, yeah. I always wondered why we didn't have it on the school board, but, we should make that important, the number of hours we put in there. But yeah, okay,
So
It's
that's,
true, there's no alternates on the Board of Finance either.
so that's Friday. So Friday, we're talking budget and we're getting the ordinance.
Ordinance, we'll get that.
And Randy will be here.
Yeah, well, Randy will be on, hopefully we'll get him on, or at least, and Randy, at least have him in.
I sent it back out to you this afternoon. I talked to Randy that with the addition of all cemeteries. And then the clause that the cemetery committee has the right to change the regulator, create and change the regulations, whatever that phrase was. So I sent it to you all with the attachment. Stated I would get it in the next meeting folder. If we're.
Yeah, I'm not sure you told me.
I responded with some,
Okay, I asked him if any of your other questions,
uh-huh.
pertain to it, and he said he didn't think so. So if you
Okay,
still
make those-
have questions,
So,
Okay, so all those other questions need to be, could be resolved with the
with the
regulations? That was what he said.
yeah, I was thinking,
Be resolved with the regulations, that the ordinance was fine the way that it, with that one, those two
yeah, I kind of
changes.
read what you had said, and I saw your response.
Mhm.
I think the rest of it falls on us, how we want to put it in.
Right, and the regulations, you don't have to do until the committee's created, and then they will make those recommendations.
So the idea is that we would like a document that we'll take to the town.
But I think it makes sense to have the whole package to take to the town.
I agree,
you know?
I know we need the ordinance, obviously.
You have to have the ordinance, but it'd be nice to be able to say, this is our regulations, you know? And these are.
I think we could, yeah, it's a little bit, I think that what we have, we
You
could.
can't, unless it's in the budget, you can't hire an extra person, so I don't see how you can do that as far as timing goes.
Right.
But we have this other source of income, so that's another thing we need to know from Barbara is like, can we pay for the sexton out of their money
Part of that, yeah.
that is gonna be transferred to the town?
Yeah, that's a good, that's a question we have to, once we get that money, I think we're gonna have to figure that one out, be honest with you. Tammy seems to be a little reticent for us understanding what that money's for. If it's not for use in the cemetery, I'm not sure, but yeah, I think they have been using some of that money, I think we talked about that, Joyce, didn't we? About the cemetery money, that some of the interest was used, maybe with Barbara I talked to. Yeah, that some of the interest was used, but the principal was not touched, kind of deal, so. And that may be where they were spending that extra money for the mowing service or something. I don't know.
But they also had $3,000 from members.
People, yeah, would donate
Yeah.
money and people just write checks and stuff like that. If that happens, obviously that goes back and some of this is gonna be, see how it goes in a year.
Yeah, I
once
don't know
we-
if we're gonna get the member.
Exactly. Once we just-
donations.
I'm not sure people are gonna want to give the town.
Is all of this going to line up? I mean, because there's the monies that they're transferring. So let's say we have an ordinance, town says, yes, we're rolling. Will that money be available in April? Or are we waiting, I mean?
We
what-
shouldn't
what's-
be waiting.
We shouldn't be waiting.
No, we have to, well, that's the other intent,
It's
talking
gonna
about
take
how we
time,
use it.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's the money, the money we will be able to use that.
We'll be able to use that. Okay, so there's no lag with time with that or whatever.
No,
Yeah, I don't know
no,
about
it's
transfers.
transferred over. We will be able to use that, and we'll use it the same way they did, put paying the sexton and, maintenance and all that. Yeah. So,
Just asking.
yeah.
But are there gonna have to be restrictions on that money or not? That's one thing I'm not clear on.
Yeah, that's a good question. I haven't been able to get that
because
clear.
Barbara said it's gonna be a restricted fund. She says it's not going into the general. fund.
It's kind of,
Restricted
yeah,
fund.
it's non-lapsing. We've had those at the school. We get non-lapsing, which it continues along in that line only, and only that which is, I guess, assigned to that line can be spent for, which is the cemetery. So, yeah, so it's not, yeah, we had the same
Kind
thing.
of like the Conservation Commission's Cougar Fund, which is
Yeah.
only for trees.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and we had the school, we put 2% a year or 1%, 2% a year away out of leftover budget money. That was that's what the state allowed us to do at the school board, and that became non-lapsing funds. That's what we did. The windows, we added the, if you remember, when we did the windows, we added the air conditioners to it because we had money out of that lapsing fund. We could, and other funds we could put towards it. So, yeah. Anyway.
But what do we have to do to add the cemeteries to this budget? Because I was surprised that Barbara didn't add it in.
Well, we haven't finalized yet. I think that's why. We have to make the ordinance pertain. We can't actually put it in until we actually have the ordinance. So we'll have it done before. We have to have it done by March.
We're gonna pass an ordinance before we can revise this.
Yeah.
But you know we're gonna do it. I mean, if it be,
Yeah, but if the town says no, the town can say no.
then the town say no.
The town might say no. Yeah, that's the crazy part about it. And then,
But then-
yeah, the cemeteries will.
I don't see how the town could say no. It's like,
don't
it's
think
our land. We own the cemeteries. We have a legal responsibility for this.
I agree with you. Just a ball.
All right, you should see how New York does it when they just don't pass the school to be a school budget time after time, and there's nobody paying money for the school budget. Yeah, that's fun too. That's how they do it. Separate, they don't combine it into
Yeah, I know.
the school budget. But I think we'll have, the thing is, they have the ordinance, we'll have the committee assignment set up, we'll have the section set up, the job descriptions, the appropriate pay. I think the town will see that as the way we should go forward with this. So I don't think they're gonna say no to that. I mean, I don't think that, there's gonna be some probably that will think we're overreaching, but no other, no other alternative. It's kind of our responsibility to take care of our living as well as our deceased.
I mean, could you say, according to state law, if there's no cemetery association, the town has to do this?
It's almost like the fire department. Yeah, we have to come up, if the fire department dissolve itself, we'd have to find another way to have a fire district represent us, or at least that we would designate as our fire district, or, representative, yeah. So, fun.
I was surprised at how many laws there are about cemeteries. State.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh.
So.
Okay,
All right,
so another reason to move on the ordinance and get this going.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
Anything more on the budget or potential budget items? If not, I will open up to comment from the public on anything you wish to comment on. If there is any comments.
Just listening.
It's closely. Okay, hearing nothing else, I'll motion to adjourn.
So.
Okay.
So on Friday, will we pick a new date to, we need to have another